I'm Jamie. Standing here, watching the police take my ex-husband, Ryan, away in handcuffs, I feel a weight lift off my chest. The chaos outside, with neighbors and onlookers gawking, is a far cry from the suffocating silence that filled our house just moments ago. It all started when Mr. Thompson, Ryan's boss, showed up at my door. He was a well-groomed man in his late 40s, always dressed to the nines, like he stepped out of a business magazine. He held a folder of what he claimed were important work-related papers for Ryan. I told him Ryan wasn't here, and he seemed surprised. After some consideration, he asked if he could come in as he'd been driving for hours. I saw no reason to refuse, so I invited him in and offered him tea. As I was making tea, I glanced out of the kitchen window and was horrified to see Mr. Thompson's sleek black car in flames. The fire was like a grotesque dance, the flames licking the air. I quickly pushed the half-filled cup of tea towards Mr. Thompson and rushed outside. There, beside the burning car, was Ryan. His face was twisted into a deranged grin, and his eyes gleamed with madness. He didn't even look at Mr. Thompson. Instead, he turned to me and slurred, "Hey, Jamie. This is what you get for stealing my life. Say hello to your lover." He thought I was having an affair with Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, initially shocked, then erupted in anger. "Ryan, did you do this?" he demanded. Ryan's face went pale as he realized the magnitude of his mistake. His boss, his marriage, all in ruins because of his crazy jealousy. I calmly stepped forward and said, "Ryan, I had the contract renewal papers with me. Consider them and your job burned. You're done." Ryan dropped to his knees, begging Mr. Thompson for mercy, but Mr. Thompson wasn't having it. He snapped, "Save it. I'm calling the cops." Before all this, though, things were so different. I've always been a sucker for those fairy tale love stories, where the guy woos the girl and they live happily ever after. When Ryan entered my life, he was the perfect gentleman. He'd send me sweet morning texts, and call me late at night just to hear about my day. Our friends said we were a match made in heaven. But my grandma Rose always had a different opinion. She was a wise old woman, with a no-nonsense attitude. She'd tell me, "Jamie, dear, be careful. When a man wants all your time, it might not be just love. He could be trying to control you." I'd laugh it off, thinking she was just old-fashioned. One evening, we were sitting on my old couch. He held my hand a bit too tightly and casually asked, "Did you meet anyone interesting at work today?" I brushed it off, saying it was the same old crowd. But he kept pressing, and his grip tightened. I tried to pull my hand away gently, but he just said, "Just making sure we're good," with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. That night, Grandma Rose's words echoed in my head, and I started to sense that there was a fine line between love and control. After we got married and moved into our cozy, ivy-covered house, things slowly started to change. One evening on the porch, with the smell of pine in the air, he asked about a new guy at work. When I told him his name, he just grunted, his jaw tightening. I recognized that look, the look of distrust. His questions became more intrusive, and then came the critiques of my wardrobe. One Sunday morning, when I was picking out a dress for brunch with friends, he pointed to a plain one and said it was fine. I held up my favorite blue dress, saying it was more cheerful. He shook his head and insisted I wear the other one. It didn't feel like a suggestion, it felt like an order. My social life also took a hit. Dinner with friends became less and less frequent. My phone stopped buzzing with invitations, and I felt myself slipping away from the person I used to be. At work, my boss, Mr. Davis, gave me a new project that would require some late nights. I told Ryan I wasn't quitting, and he got furious. His mother, Mrs. Harris, appeared out of nowhere and pleaded with me to let Ryan have his way. I was so tired of fighting, so I suggested working from home. Ryan reluctantly agreed, but I still felt trapped. Over the next few weeks, my home office became my prison. Ryan would glance over my shoulder now and then, and Mrs. Harris would check in frequently. Work was my only escape, and Mr. Davis's occasional calls were a source of encouragement. One day, I took a taxi to Grandma Rose's house. When I arrived, Ryan was waiting outside. He confronted the taxi driver, yelling and causing a scene. Inside, he paced around, shooting me furious glances. A few days later, I caught him going through my phone while I was cooking. I was beyond angry. I told him it was insane and that he had to stop being so jealous. He apologized, and I wanted to believe him, but deep down, I knew things wouldn't change. Then, I started noticing a black sedan following me. At first, I thought it was a coincidence, but it kept showing up at the grocery store, the dry cleaner, and finally, at the library. I took a detour to test it, and sure enough, it followed me. I was terrified and angry at the same time. I called the police, and they confirmed my worst fear: the man in the car was a private investigator hired by Ryan. When I got home with the police report, I confronted Ryan. I told him I couldn't take it anymore and that he had to leave. He left without a word, and for the first time in a long time, I felt free. Now, as I watched the police drive away with Ryan, I turn back to the house. Grandma Rose is standing in the kitchen doorway, a knowing look on her face. "Jamie, dear, are you okay?" she asks. I walk towards her and say, "Gran, I should have listened to you." She smiles and says, "Oh, honey, when will you learn to trust your instincts?" Later, I flop onto the couch and send my friend Lily a text. Finally free. "Want to come over and join my solo party?" Her reply comes quickly. "On my way. Bringing pizza." The rest of the night is simple. No drama, no Ryan. Just pizza, bad TV, and good company. I change into my comfiest sweatpants and tie my hair back. The future might be uncertain, but it sure beats the life I left behind. I smile, knowing that from this moment on, things are going to be different. Tonight, freedom tastes a lot like pepperoni and cheese, and that's more than enough for me.